In the tapestry of human experience, I've observed a particular pattern in our cognitive architecture, a series of mental shortcuts and biases that color our perception of reality. Let me illuminate a few of these with a discerning eye and a few comments. Consider the illusion of transparency. Have you ever stood before an audience feeling as though your every tremble and heartbeat were broadcast? And in truth, the audience is likely preoccupied with their own insecurities, not yours. So we overestimate how much others notice our flaws. And then there's the empathy gap. That's when you shop on an empty stomach. Suddenly your cart overflows with all sorts of provisions that you don't really need. And this is emotion clouding your judgment. Decisions made under the sway of strong feelings that you may regret later. Then there's something called the Ostrich Effect, which is our tendency to ignore looming problems, hoping they'll resolve themselves. It's a temporary reprieve, but avoidance only magnifies issues. That relationship issue that is haunting you for day upon day or week upon week that you've refused to deal with. Oh. So we're also prone to something called survivorship bias, where we focus on success stories like tech moguls who dropped out of college, ignoring that countless others for whom this path led to nowhere. You know, it's akin to studying only the survivors of shipwrecks to understand maritime safety. And then there's the hotand fallacy, believing that past success predicts future triumphs. Each event is independent, and a winning streak doesn't necessarily guarantee victory. And then there's something called the contrast effect. Watch out for this. It's a car salesman trick. They show you a subpar model first, and one that they don't even really aim to sell you, and then they show you another one that is much, much superior by comparison. This is a manipulation that you just have to be aware of. Then there's something called chauffeur knowledge. Individuals who sound authoritative but lack depth. They always probe for substance, so always probe before substance beyond the surface. And this is a good one, the illusion of averages. Assuming that because the average river depth is 4 feet that you can afford to jump into it head first may lead to injury. So until you encounter this unexpected abyss, the law of averages can work for you sometimes, but there are a few cases where they're going to lead you into some big surprises and losses. The curse of specificity, where you overload your narrative with minutiae, losing your audience in the details. Remember that simplicity often conveys more information effectively. And then there's the inability to close doors. That's where our hesitation to commit fully, always wondering about the road not taken. Sometimes it is necessary to be decisive and take action. Close those doors, move on. Then there's the spotlight effect. We believe we're constantly under scrutiny. In reality, others are just too engrossed in their own lives to notice that what we're doing are our minor missteps. And then there's the halo effect. One admirable trait can blind us to a person's faults. We must see the whole picture, not just the highlights. And then there's this idea of reciprocity, a free sample that you're given that obligates you to buy something. It's kind of a social dance, but stepping out of rhythm can be liberating. And then there's the mere exposure effect. Familiarity breeds fondness. This is why radio stations repeat hits, hoping repetition will foster your affection. Self-serving bias. We attribute our successes to our own skill. And we attribute our failures to external factors. A balanced view requires both acknowledging both their role in our lives. And then there's the anchoring effect. The first piece of information we receive sets our expectations. We must question these anchors to assess true value. And then there's negative bias, our tendency to focus on the negative. So cultivate positivity, but that does require a conscious effort. And the sunk cost fallacy, continuing a course of action due to prior investment, regardless of current value, that sometimes means cutting losses is the prudent choice. So these cognitive biases are just a few threads I wanted to throw out there in the intricate fabric of our thought processes. And maybe they'll prompt you to think and protect yourself or make a better choice. You know, like it's akin to a river flows forward. We navigate it with a paddle shaped by our biases and perceptions. So keep your eyes open and perhaps, just perhaps, you'll avoid the rapids and steer towards those clearer waters. Thanks for indulging my musings on the quirks of human cognition, and I hope your journey is smooth. I'm Roach, Mark Roach. All the best.